Hello everyone, Nadeem here with PC.Solutions.Net. I'm going to talk a little bit about our assessment, our network assessment. We do a security and network assessment, and like any IT company out there worth their salt, we recommend doing it at least once a year. A lot of customers in the finance industry, for example, they do them, either quarterly or monthly. They have some requirements. So the reason for doing this, and a lot of times customers will say, "Well, hey Nadeem, you guys are the ones that are managing our IT. You're our IT department. So why do we need to do this assessment? You already know what's out there." Not very accurate. So here's what happens. Let me give you a scenario. So over the course of a year, you install certain network devices. There are certain devices that come on your network that we may not even be aware of. So for example, you get a scanner, you get a copier, you get a printer, you get maybe an updated HVAC system. So you get all these different things. A user might install a wireless access point in their office because they don't have good coverage from the main wireless access point. We may not even know about it. Nobody might, they just didn't tell anybody. They just brought one off of Best Buy or, somewhere and just installed it. We don't know. And that's where the assessment comes in. So we're going to go through on, real quick on what all we check for and what are all the tests. So we do over 200, we check against over 200 vectors. But we're going to go real quick through it, what all we check and what kind of information. I'm going to, share my screen. I'm going to share a sample assessment. It's actually a real assessment that we did for a customer. I just changed some names, moved some, just so confidentiality and all that. So let's get started on that. So you understand that over time things change on your network. We may not even know about it, and not only physical things but also logical things. So for example, in your domain you might have users that were, they're no longer with the company. Maybe their account was disabled, maybe it wasn't, but they're still there in your directory. Same thing goes with computers, and these are avenues of attack for the bad guys. So let's share my screen here. And so this is a typical report, what it looks like. So we go through, we check your all these different things. So you see these little check marks next to each one of these items. So we check for the, we do FSMO, role analysis. If you're familiar with Active Directory, you'll know what that means. Organization units, we analyze users or computers, all kinds of servers, shares, applications. We do all kinds of tests. Now, in this case, this was a customer, and we did not do external vulnerability tests because the boundary firewall, I am very familiar with their boundary firewall, and I know there's nothing open there, so no need to spend time on doing that. Because this test can take a while because we scan every port. And so basically what we're doing is we're trying to connect through each port on your firewall/router. So if you don't have a firewall router, we might want to do this test as well. So now this report is meant for managers, and you can see what we want to show here is at a glance where you stand against industry baselines, right? So this is where you stand. So in this case, the customer has a very high risk. So 100 represents significant risk, and this customer is at 97. We don't usually see this high of risk. This was a customer. I don't want to give too much details, but they manage their own IT, and they just use us when they have a problem, escalated things. This should be very low. If we were their IT department, this should be less than 20, which most of our existing customers are. So going down, now here it shows us a summary of what that score means and how we arrived at that score. So it shows you the overall score here, and then it it shows you how it's calculating that score. So user password set to never expire. Now, you either, if you have just user passwords, you want to set them to expire, and if you don't want user passwords to expire, you should enable multi-factor authentication. In this case, they don't have either. So that's this is something that needs to be investigated, and domain-wide password expirations should be enabled, or they should implement some sort of MFA. Then there are 15 there's 15 points each, but there are inactive computers, and there are a lot of inactive computers that have not checked in over the last 30 days. Now, in this case, it is 48, so that's a high number. And so, why does this matter? Inactive computer accounts are what a bad guy is going to use to infiltrate your network, your domain. So that's something that you want to clean up. Now, normally when a user leaves, what you want to do is you want to disable that computer account, and then you want to remove it from AD before reprovisioning that physical machine for somebody else. So in this case, it's a procedural failure. Maybe they don't have a process in place on how to reprovision machines or decommission machines. Sometimes companies will decommission machines, they just take them out, they never remove them from Active Directory. So then we have users that haven't logged in for 30 days. So these might be inactive accounts. Again, a prime target for the bad guys. If I was going to try to break into somebody's network, these are the things that I would look for. These are what you call low-hanging fruit. I don't have to do anything. I don't even need, like a third-party script to copy and paste. This is just there, just waiting for me to take advantage of. Then we have antivirus. So there are two computers where antivirus is not up to date, which is fine. It's only two computers, and it's antivirus, not anti-malware, which is more important nowadays anyway. So we have unsupported operating systems. One computer. Now that's going to be another low-hanging fruit, is because if it's unsupported operating system, that means it's not patched. If it's not patched, that means easy target. The other thing, now this is from a disaster recovery perspective. This customer does not have a redundant domain controller, so it doesn't have a backup domain controller. Now, why is this important? Domain controller is what authenticates your security and implements permissions. If you only have one domain controller, if that domain controller goes down, people cannot log into their domain. Basically, you lose everything. Now, if that one domain controller is destroyed for whatever reason permanently, you have to rebuild your entire domain, everything, all permissions, everything from scratch. Yeah, it's a lot of work. And then you have to go to each machine, each workstation, and rejoin the new domain. It's just a lot of work. And I mean, you're looking, now if you had image-based backups of your domain controllers, which we recommend, in this case, the customer didn't have it. But anyway, so this is the kind of stuff that should keep you up at night, because single point of failure. Think of it like you have a very thick, solid chain. In this case, it's not very thick or solid, but one link in there is just a thread, and it's just a thread of fabric that's holding that chain together. So yeah, it looks like a very sturdy chain, but that one link is just a thread. That one link can bring the whole company down. Insecure listening ports. There are 4 insecure listening ports in this case, and again, these may be some things that some maybe end user installed, maybe copiers, printers that have old firmware that have listening ports out there, insecure listening ports out there that are just listening. They're just beacons in the darkness, calling the bad guy, saying, "Hey, I'm here." It is that bad. Now, there are some operating systems in extended support, which is better than unsupported, but still, extended support means you want to get rid of these machines, upgrade them, do something with them, or decommission them if you don't need them. Then we have unpopulated organization units. So OUs in your Active Directory, if they exist, they need to be populated. Otherwise, they don't have a reason to exist. So we want to understand here what the old IT guy or the IT admin was doing, creating OUs, but then not populating them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is just a report, so we haven't investigated this further, but this should trigger further investigation to find out what these OUs are doing. And then we have too few OUs for this size. So for this size company, less than 5 OUs is not a standard. So what this means is that maybe this organization is not using OUs to their full potential. So they're maybe not using group policy and things like that the way it's meant to be used. Maybe they're doing manual stuff, or they have alternate system in place to manage stuff. But if they have a domain, then might as well use it to its full potential. They're not doing that in this case. So going down, and I'm going a little fast because there's a lot of stuff to cover, so I'm just going to go real quick. So this is just the internet speed. Everybody knows what that is. Asset summary. So this is pretty interesting, right? So we have 176 total computers, 175 are Windows, 13 web servers, 11 printers. Nice. I mean, Microsoft, 2 SQL servers. See, I don't even know why this customer has 2 SQL servers. They're not supposed to. Mac OS 1, which is fine. 1 MX record, fine. No Exchange server, no Linux boxes, so that's good. Now, of course, the less stuff you have, the more secure you become, but the less productivity users will have. We have to strike the right balance here. So going down, active computers. So in this case, we have a bunch of stats on what kind of computers they have. So they have 2.3% of Windows 7, which is probably unsupported operating systems that it was listing before. 8.1 extended support. So there are certain things in place here that that we need to look at and maybe get rid of. Now the actual counts: Windows 10 Pro, 40 Windows 10 Pro machines, 1 Windows 7, 1 8.1, and then 1 2016 server. That 1 2016 server is probably their domain controller, which is that single thread holding everything together, that big chain, that single thread holding it together. Operating system support, it's just showing us the same, how many OSs are supported, how many in extended support, and how many unsupported. That Windows 7 keeps showing up as unsupported. Windows 8.1 is extended support. Windows 10 is fine, they're supported, and Windows 2016 is supported as well. So that's why we have a total of 40 Windows 10 Pro machines, and then 1 Windows 2016 machine. So that brings us to 41. 1 Windows 7 and 1 Windows 8, which are these 2 guys down here. None are unknown, so unknown are 0. We know about all the computers. We've scanned this network up and down. So here's an asset summary. So you can kind of see over here the top 5 OSs. I'm just going to go through inaccurate computers. Now this is interesting. So these are, remember we talked about where a computer, if it was in your AD and it was reprovisioned or decommissioned, it wasn't properly removed from your Active Directory. If a computer still exists in your domain, then that's an avenue of attack. So in this case, there are a total of 133 inactive computers. So to me, this would indicate it's a procedural failure. The IT procedures do not require machines to be removed from the domain, which is a bad thing. There's no excuse for it. So now we have users logged in. So now here's another thing. Similar to having those inactive computers on the domain, you don't want to have user accounts that have not logged in for more than 30 days. What that means is maybe the user has left the company, their account just was not deleted. Another prime example for attack. In this case, there are 15 accounts, 15 accounts that have not logged in for 30 days or more. And then we also down here, we also show 39 disabled users. Now, if the procedures were right, then when a user leaves, that account is disabled, and then after 2 weeks, that account, 2 weeks or whatever the company policy is, after that amount of time, the user is permanently deleted. So first you disable, you give it some time, and then you permanently delete. In this case, users have been disabled, but they have not been permanently deleted. So procedural failure. And here we have some security group distribution. There's really nothing to talk about, just how they're laid out. Now we have storage by drive capacity. So at a glance, it can show management how you're doing as far as drive capacity goes. So in this case, there is E volume on a server on their DC, which has more than 50% usage. So I would start looking a little closely at that and start planning how are we going to upgrade the drive, right? And then we have some machines here with higher usage. I'm just going to go through them real quick. Free space. So yeah, that E drive, free space is getting low. That is should be a little bit of a concern. Need to start planning on adding more drive capacity. And then we have server aging, right? So average system age 29, so they only have one server in this case, and it is 29 months old. Now what that tells me is that I need to see if that server is still under warranty, because normally if it's an entry-level server, it probably came with 1 year warranty. It's past 1 year, maybe they had upgraded to 2 years, don't know. That's something we need to look at, make sure the hardware is still under warranty. Okay, so the oldest now, and this is workstation aging. I really don't care much about workstation. If it's not giving you a problem, keep using it. If it's performing well, keep using it. Oldest system is 90 months, which is really, really old, but that's not as big of a concern as a server which impacts all multiple users. So that's just the security risk report real quick, what it shows. So as you can see, at a glance, it can show you a lot of good information about where you are against industry standards, and that's something that can trigger further investigation into certain things. Like in this case, we want to look at certain things a little closely, and just by looking at this report, you can kind of tell how well the IT department is running. Are you running a tight ship? Is it just a loose hodgepodge, like people are just doing what they want to do, not really following procedure or standards? You want to document everything that needs to happen. Whatever IT does, if it's documented, then you can follow that document and everything will be good. In this case, it doesn't look like that documentation is very good, or maybe it's just bad documentation and their procedure does not require them to remove devices, for example, that are no longer on the system. But that's it. So until tomorrow, everybody, enjoy the nice sunny bright day, and I will see you maybe not tomorrow because I've got a lot of stuff going on tomorrow, but I will definitely see you Friday. So have a good one, and be safe out there.